Good evening, folks, from a dry Devon after all this rain. But I've just seen the forecast, and we're going to get an awful lot of rain coming through again. My old fishery, Pallatrax Lakes, apparently is under about 10 foot of water. So yeah, but the good thing about my newer lakes, I suppose you could say that, is being on the hill and being the way, because we designed them, we've not got a problem. So all the swims, because of how they are and things like that, thanks tins, yeah, it's all good. Well, hopefully this is going to work. Hopefully the comments will come up and I'll feel a lot happier. As you can probably hear, oh, hello Simon Ossel, so it's working. Sean, good evening, sir. Keith, good evening. Trevor, how you doing, buddy? Ben, I'll let a few people pop in. Hope you're well, mate. But you might be able to hear, hi Charlie, I've got a bit of a lisp. And I don't normally have a bit of a lisp, but it's because I've had some serious dental work done, which is why I wasn't here last week. So we won't talk too much, but hopefully you can understand me. It's a little bit painful, but needs must. How you doing, Steve? Ian Rooker. Adam, how you doing? From the Crave Users Association. Yeah, we'll talk about Crave, I'm sure. Evening, Christopher. Robert, great to see so many people popping in. I say I do apologise for my slight lisp, but it actually hurts to talk. But I'm sure you feel my pain. You feel sorry for me. I feel sorry for me. Anthony, good evening. Paul, good evening. Tony, how you doing? Ryan, Vince, all the way from Canada. Vince, I know you've been up against it, mate. So hopefully you're feeling a bit better. Matthew Rice, good evening. Fishery manager down here. Sam Roth, Gary Fisher, Paul. Keep on. Yeah, it's great to see so many people. Lots on the agenda tonight. Cliff Dixon, how you doing, sir? And it's going to be a slight challenge because of me mouth, but we'll see how we go on with it all. I know some of you'll be laughing, you evil. That's about it, right, Ian? That's more teeth than I've got at the moment, to be fair. So, hi, Aaron, how you doing? Welcome this evening. So, the first thing is, obviously we've got our live feed prize. But that's going to be part of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you that in a second. But hi, Stephen. So tonight's live feed prize. Good evening, James. Thanks for your update, James, about the lead. I was quite. James is very much with me on the kind of the situation of the lead ban in Europe, and the fact is, this is something for everybody to think about, and any fishery owners see this, how they're now really focusing on the dangers of dumped lead to aquatic life. So all those fisheries that are letting lead be dumped or insist lead be dumped, I don't think they really realise the problems it's causing. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for your support. I thought I'd get a few things. Hi Neil, hope you're feeling well. So anyhow, tonight's live feed prize, because it's going to be part of the demo, and the quicker I get round and you can't see my face and laugh at me, the better. So some £15 fluorocarbon, some swivels, some size 6 grips Wygate, and some serious shrink. Now that is going to be the prize, but and there will also be a demo, because that's what I put the poll up, and the fluorocarbon rig came out on top. So that's what I'm going to run through. It's probably one of the easiest rigs you can tie. It certainly has its time and place, without a shadow of a doubt. Though there's not many rigs I personally use. There's a steam link, the weed rig, especially when I'm fishing in clear water conditions. I do very, very much focus on the ability of fluorocarbon, but more so in my barbel fishing. But we'll go through it. It's a good rig, very, very simple to make, and you can be quite confident on it as well. John, lead dumping should never be allowed. No, I'm afraid it's the biggest you know, how they've managed to the industry has managed to persuade anglers and fisheries that dumping lead is good. It is beyond me, to be quite honest. And this is nothing about stones. This is about, you know, there's loads of non-toxic. Use anything other than lead. Lead's just terrible. And now all this evidence is coming out. It's harming substrate life. It's harming all these other things. So why the industry has continues to promote it, especially now within the EU, they're very much focusing. But yeah, crazy days. Hi Robert, hope you're well. Owen, good evening, good evening. So if you want to be in with a shout of winning this little bundle of stuff, all you've got to do is ping the word yes. Anything with an S in it is a bit of a struggle, but ping in the word yes to my personal Facebook page, so Simon Pomeroy. Just ping word yes, and you'll be in with a shout of winning all this. So I can hear a few bings going off in the background, so do that. But it's a good little prize, but I'm going to show you how to get the best of it. Hope the weather has not caused so much disruption. Well, I was saying earlier, Michael, I've been very, very lucky here. Because I design the lakes from scratch, but also the topography where we can run water away from the fishery really quickly. And also all the swims. There's nothing worse than, I saw some on the team page today, that, you know, hang on a second, there's a few people saying yes on here. Please go to Simon Pomeroy's page. So Simon Pomeroy. Where are we? So going back to weather, where, you know, we've got all these, you know, very, very friendly swims where you don't get muddy. So, not a bad place to be fishing at the moment compared to some of the ones I've seen on the team page. People are sitting in bogs. But, Joe Redmond didn't realise lead was, unfortunately it is. It's still very much used. They banned lead in, 87. Under an ounce, but everything above an ounce, you know. But there's bans across Europe now. Why England's not doing it? Why the EA, the Angling Trade Association, isn't doing anything is a real worry, to be quite honest. But there we go. Tony agrees. Yes. That's so horrible, Ian. So horrible. They say shit. So dumping 3 ounce lead is criminal. Exactly, John. Exactly. Spent 23 quid of my hard-earned money today on 10 of old weights. I see their stored at Brown's Hat Show. Very impressed and very good quality, and not much bigger than your lead counterparts. Exactly, Adrian. You're 100% I push people like Evolve, Dinsmore, Eco Gear, UFO. There's all these non-toxics. So why the main brands are still using lead is very, very questionable. I've been in the industry nearly 30 years, and I can, you know, it's ease of manufacture and profit, and that's not good. Hi, Billy. No worries at all. Hope your teeth are out. Yeah, well, it's a bit of a struggle at the moment, I must admit, Neil, but who cares? It's only a bit of pain. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn... Oh, no, before I do that, a couple of people asked me, I'm still going to turn the camera around so you'll still hear me lisp, but you won't see me struggle. Right, let me just show you this. I picked Crave just for Adam. I did a demo during the week, or put a little film up during the week, of how you can glug and use the dried naturals. So let me just show you. So this is a couple on a pop-up rig. So this is a couple of 10mm jungle fluoros. And what you've got to make sure, hopefully you'll be able to see this. Move that light around a bit. When you dunk it in, the glug, you want to completely immerse the baits. So as you can see, the light's pretty shabby, but you need it to completely sink, and that means you can't see the bait at all. That wasn't a very good idea. And I just want a good idea to use wild crab as well. It's no crave. The next one I've got is wild crab. So anyhow, so you dunk it in there. Okay, and that will give you, obviously it's unique to Pallatrax, and it will give you the, I wonder if I can get light, I don't know how to get that. So, we're going to just let this fall off a bit. And then we're going to, I should probably open this first. So we've got various dried insects and things that we got within the range. This is the maggots. So all I'm going to do is take off the excess, pop it in, give it a good shake about. Right, this will initially float more than the pop-up shot because there's right, where are we? There's the camera. Oh, there you go. So let me try and get in there. And this is just another way, one of the other tactics I use in different situations. But the reason I'm doing it is now is you'll see the let me just try and get in a bit on it. You'll see obviously the pop-ups are glugged. The maggots are going to pull away, float away, and what will happen is we'll see after, you know, half an hour, we'll go back and have another look, and you'll see what happens, and why. Again, it's about, I don't know, it keeps on going out of shape. It might be focusing on the maggots as they come away. But it's you know, flattery, or copy is the best form of flattery, or whatever it is. It's interesting to see lots of people now using products like you know, the natural powders and things like that. But just to give you an idea, this is how I use a lot of the products. A lot more filming will be done going forward to really drill down into how we're doing things. But that was just showing you. So let me come back, and it is quite impressive, to be quite honest, how this will then, obviously, what was happening is the dried is holding it up. What will happen now is all the dried will come off, then the glug will leach off, and the bait will then come back up. So it's just a pile of, I don't know why it's so dark in here tonight. Got all these lights going. But anyway, so there we go. We'll just leave that go in. Hi Galen, all the way from Canada. Who have I missed? Last pot. Could you use maggots powder to the same effect? Exactly the same effect. Not, well, actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I have one I made earlier. Let me just come over here. We'll do it exactly the same. I've got it here, so just for you. So again, put it in the pot. Like I say, you want to make sure that the whole bait, because if not, it won't stick around. And the other thing is make sure the bait's dry. Make sure it's a dry bait. Got some maggot powder. I love this stuff. Love this stuff. And again, because you know there's nothing added, there's no human middling other than to get it into that format. You know you're using the real thing. And again, so let's see this come out. Don't know why it won't focus. So we'll just let the excess come off there. It's a little bit sticky, but like I say, it's what it does at the end of the day. Oh, that wasn't meant to happen. So I put it in there. Give it again, good shaky. And then so we can put that one there. Let me move all this stuff out of the way. And again, it's about, you know, the hook bait is the one that you want to pick up. There's lots of schools of thought, different thoughts and things like that about, let's see if we just get in there a bit more. I mean, I know I don't like to say that looks good, but it does, and it does what it does. And so that glug, because it breaks down so slowly, you can see the bits of the maggot floating up and down, and we'll see at the end, you know, in a half an hour again, we'll have a look at that as well. You know, that's what, a lot of my products, I don't do very well at explaining how we or why and how I've developed them, and that will change, folks. That will change. Daphnia maggots I use. There we go. Have you tried live maggots? Yes, we have, especially squat, Anthony. You can do it. Micro pellets, anything like that, it will stick to it. Gary Fisher, I used this on Friday. 5 casts of 5 fish, strawberry yogurt and maggot powder. There you go. Proofs in the pudding. And you know, all it always sounds, it's going to sound a bit. So you can see this is now starting to all fall off, and that will now slowly lift up and leave a residue of the glug just sat there. Who's that? Rusty. How you doing, Rusty? Hope all's good for you, sir. Matthew Cooper, good to see you here. Lots of other people. Ian Brookman, good to see you, mate. Hope you had a good day. Spot on. Yeah, no, Aaron, you know, none of this is like designed to be gimmick. It's all designed to do what it does. And again, it's all down to the ingredients. And obviously, I'm using lots of natural ingredients to do what I do. And again, like I say, I'm always looking for natural attraction and a combination of different things. But what you do know here is you're going to get really good presentation. And then if we come back over to this one, so you can see, yeah, the maggot coming up and going down. You can see how this is all starting to pile, so the glug's slowly falling off. And you're just blinging that hook bait up so it stands out amongst the crowd, or you're going to fish it as a single hook bait. But let's just leave that for now. We're going to come back. So just for the new people here, exactly, and that's what it's about, to be quite honest. But again, what I would, you know, caution, it's about what it's made of as well, and that is a key element to it. You'll be able to see in the background. So. Thanks, Matthew. That are called a wide gape. Come, sir, come, sir. That's what it is. That's the grips. We don't obviously use barbed or barbless. We use the grips, and they're something very special with the the micro grooves on the inside that hold firm, and a lot of people, to be quite honest, the amount of people that are going on to grips now, because, you know, people have said to me, oh, why are your grips the price they are? These will catch fish after fish, because it's got a cutting point. Cutting point's a really expensive manufacturing process. So get on your grips if you haven't seen them. So tonight's live feed draw prize, some of the serious shrink, some 15 pound of fluorocarbon, some of the size 6 wide gapes, and some basic swivels. So this is how to make a very easy rig, and it's one of the first rigs, to be fair, that I ever made. Let me just, I don't know what I've done here, hang on a second. Right, there we go. So, first up, let's get some, now fluorocarbon, it's got a greater diameter than copolymers or nylons, but it does sink better, and it also it's got higher abrasion resistance. So it's got some good things. But the thing is, why a lot of people use it, it's used as a leader in game fishing because of its refractive qualities, and basically it's very, very. I don't know if I can do it here. Let me just. No, I'll do it in a bit, actually. So, right, so I'm going to take about 12 inches off of this. Now, when you with fluorocarbon, it's very, very coily, okay? So what you've got to do is when you take your spool, go like that, and so you'll see, and what you're going to do is pull that down through your fingers a couple of times, all in one direction, and you're pulling basically the molecules out. So it's now nowhere near as, hopefully you can see this, folks. Yeah, zigs as well, without shadow of doubt. So first things first, and this is always a challenge for me, because of the state of my eyes, everything's just falling to pieces. So I'm just going to put here, I mean, I know you can get all these kind of, because it's further away from my eyes, it's even worse. I know you can get all these other bits and pieces that you're going to put on, but I'm a firm believer in how the hair rig was initially developed, and so I just have a boilie stop. So all I'm doing is making that the loop for the boilie stop. Okay, folks, any questions, just let me know. I'll try and pick it up. Just got some berry bomb, getting back into carp fishing. There we go, that's from Gary. So right, now rig length obviously will come down to you. I tend to fish 3.5 to 4 inches, 4.5 at the maximum. So I don't know if you've seen these. These are made by Matt, one of our team members, but you do get a free one of these in the paper, the laminated sheet. But these are the real deals, and they just and this is how I make a rig time after time again, exactly the same. So I want to then get a hook. Now, like a lot of people will fish different hairs, and this is why I keep on going on about rigs. It's probably the biggest problem in the industry, where there's so many different interpretations of rigs. Firstly, always go through the back, because we're going to do the knotless knot. Now, I'm going to fish, this is a size 6 hook, so if you look here, there's a 6 there. So what I'm going to do is pull that through, and the eye of the hook needs to go onto there, onto that little mark, and the hair goes to the end. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that very well with all my fingers, but that's how I'm gauging, because that's the size, that's the length of the for a size 18 bait. So now, whenever you tie a hair rig, this is something I see the most experienced anglers make a mistake. They go round and put the first turn, so they're going round the front. Now the trouble is, you've got a join there, and potentially that is a weak spot. So always make sure that you go round the back. And then I'm going to turn that, and I'm going to keep this all very, very tight. Very tight. Now I don't add loads of extra bits and pieces again, but I come down, I'm trapping the hair along the back of the shank until I'm opposite the point. Okay, so then I tend to put, oh sorry folks, that all went horribly wrong. I'll just start that again. Oh, it would never be a good show if I didn't make some kind of awful error. That's me trying to show you. So yeah, so going down opposite the point, then just doing a couple of turns over the back there to hold it all into shape. Then again with the knotless knot, you're always going through the back. And that's it. So it's just literally the knotless knot. It's nothing, you know, difficult. It's really, really, what's this? Can you explain 2 different scales for coating removed on your rig board? Hang on a second. Hi, Pom, can you explain the 2 different scales for coating? Is that these bits here? If you could just confirm that. Yeah, you've got to ask for them, Gary. If you you know, hopefully people are reading the paperwork that comes into it, and you'll see that when you put an order in, if you ask for it, you can they will get through. We don't know, obviously, we can't do it any other way. So that's the first bit. Then I'm going to cut a bit of shrink, about 1 inch of shrink. So again, using this, I tend to just use the markings on there. So I'm going to take 1 inch there. Feed that on. And then if you see here, I've got a little swivel there. So I know that I want this rig to be 4.5 inches. So I'm going to come here, as you see that on there, to the 4.5 inch mark. And that's then when I'm just going to turn that over and squeeze that together. Then we'll get a swivel. Feed that on through. You can see where I turned it over, so just put the swivel up down there. Now you can, there's obviously, you know, grinners and things like that, but when I'm using this material, I always use, to finish off, a figure of 8. I'll tell you what, it's a right challenge trying to watch this, watch it through the screen as well. So, and speak. Thanks, Tinny. So there's your figure of 8, and I'm just going to pull that down. Now, you can obviously tighten it all up. You can just fish that rig like that. You don't have to do what I'm going to do next. You know, some people like that flexibility of the rig and things like that, but me, I like the fact that if I use some of the serious shrink, that's a real challenge. Serious shrink. Push that on through. Now, there's 2 reasons I put this on. One is it's the anti-tangle property. I'm always making sure I never tangle, but also this will give me a reset. So I'm just going to, Tinny's next to me, my assistant, and I'm just going to steam that off in a second. Actually, whilst I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I'll just put like I say, this is for a size 18 squab. Already start. And there you go. Now, the interesting thing here is some people say, why haven't you put a kicker? If you look at the Steam Link rig, you'll see, you can see these ones. Hang on, let me get one I made earlier. So you'll see there that I've got the Steam Link, the shrink, sorry, serious shrink over there, creating my kicker. This is an interesting thing about any fluorocarbon and copolymer. Because of the properties, you actually get that naturally. So if you look at that now, let's try and turn it. So you're actually getting a natural kicker, if that makes sense. So it does turn every time. So like I say, it's a really, we'll steam this off very shortly, and it's a really easy rig. You know, I never go on about it, and it's born out of frustration more than anything when I see some of these rigs that are out in the out on the market. Sorry, I'm just going to steam this off. There is a video that went up earlier showing that, but there you go. See, I'll steam that off now. And so that's a really nice, easy rig. But as I was saying, the biggest problem I see, in all honesty, within modern, and it's not just for carp, because obviously we're using hair rigs for all different species, is the fact that there's mass confusion. And all I would ever say, and I say I'm trying to help people, I'm not here to critique or criticise or do anything like that. Just look at your rig wallets and look at it and decide, is it consistent? Now, if you've got loads of different rigs with loads of different materials, loads of different lengths, loads of different hook patterns, things like that, you're never ever going to have what I would call consistency. And that is a major problem. And it's the only area of fishing that I've ever seen where there is not kind of a regimented discipline to rigs. So my rigs are always all the same. And then I focus more so on watercrafts, bait selection, all those kind of things. I'm not here. It'd be easy for me to say to people, oh, you want to buy this, you want to buy that. And that. I feel, you know, as simple as you possibly can, as effective as you possibly can. But then let's just go back over to our. I will answer the questions, I know that. But let's just. So now that squab's just sat in a pile of the glugs, which is obviously really, really high attract. And then you've got all of this kind of, well, in this case it's the maggot, all just leaching off still slowly, but some of it's stuck down and stay on the bottom. A bit out of focus. And then you come back to this one, you can see the glug, what's left of it. Now that is perfectly presented. So you've had the initial bling effect, and then, you know, you've got what you've got. There we go. So let me just go through. So don't forget, I'll just do this last shout out. Now this is here. This all makes up the prize in tonight's live feed draw. So all that bundle. Okay. And I will put in that rig as well. I will personally bless that rig. All you've got to do, if you want to be in with a shout of winning that, is send yes. Anything with an S is a real nightmare, isn't it? I can hear you laughing from here, Charlie. If you want to win that, be in with a shout to win it. It's only for people who are here on the live feed. Just send the word yes to my personal Facebook page, Simon Pomeroy, and you'll be entered into the draw. So think James, thanks James. Aaron, simple, exactly sir, exactly. I'm afraid, yeah, let me just turn this round, even though it's difficult to speak. I honestly, you know, the whole kind of rig thing has gone past the point of I don't know, it's just gone to madness. How can you have consistency when, let's just say a Ronnie rig, so somebody must have at some stage designed the original Ronnie rig. Now you've got, I don't know, 100 different interpretations of the Ronnie rig, but unless it's the same as the Ronnie rig, then how can it perform the same way? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. It's like when you're tying flies or you're using a lure. Let's say you're making some kind of nymph. You don't make it different than the nymph that was originally designed. I hope this is coming across, because honestly, folks, it's the one thing where I see people losing fish, and where the rig is just being ejected. You've only got to watch under fishing and see how many times fish are picking up bait and then just spitting it out. And it's because the rig isn't working as it should do. And that's why I think a lot of people aren't catching as much as they can. It's because really the trap just isn't working. It doesn't work as well as it can. But every now and again it will work. It's like when people say to me about bait. Well, I caught on, you know, this really cheap bait, and it's like, again, fish will pick up out of curiosity. Pop-ups, you know, at the end of the day, no bait. They don't eat any of the bait that's on the hair, so you can class it all as a lure. But just because you catch, what's the best way? As I said before, plastic sweet corn. You know, so many fish get caught on plastic sweet corn, there's no food to it at all. It's just that they're picking it up. So there's lots of things that I do think if you know, like I say, I've never been one to tell people how to fish, far from it, but do look at these pointers, because they're things that I've travelled obviously a longer journey than, but the last 30 years has been in, you know, the carp and tench and things like that, and barb or whatever. Some of this stuff doesn't add up, folks. It just does not add up. You know, all of these different interpretations of the same thing. It's like trying to reinvent the wheel. The wheel as it is. So just have a think. I'm not trying to be critique. I'm not trying to sell you anything. All I'm kind of imploring is do look at what you're being told. And is it, you're just being told because of the marketing? Or are you actually being told because it's 100% provable, you know, the truth, basically? So, There we go. There we go. Assume nothing, question everything. Ben's saying, would this be similar or same for your hemp in hemp oil? Sorry, what do you mean with that, Ben? Is that like where you can put the hemp oil won't stick? The powders and things won't stick. The glug is obviously unique, has that unique property of where it will actually stick, if that's what you're saying. Dave Wayman, you need to send yes to my Facebook Messenger page, not on here. Graham saying, has there ever been an underwater video of the baits and glugs in real life fishing scenario at a lake? There hasn't, in all honesty. I'd love there to be. Perhaps one day we'll get to that level where we can commission that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, my lakes aren't clear, so we need waters that are clear to show it. But that's what I love about underfishing. Now, if you look at underfishing, you'll see when they do their own fishing, not when they're doing the commercial filming for different companies. They're always using a stone. And they use the stone because they know how detrimental a lead is to spooking fish and things like that. But it would be lovely to get to, that level where we can afford to go and show how these things. It's like how I fish the method mix. We know it catches thousands of fish, but wouldn't it be great if we could actually see it in action? So hopefully one day, folks. Hopefully one day. Where are we? Can you sign the rewind with it? Of course. I'm absolutely dying over here. You're a cool man, Charlie. Hi, Simon. Is the hair rig best for a beginner? Well, I mean, this hair rig, is one of the first ones I started off with because it's so easy to make. But it's not a good setup for a pop-up. That's where you come. Let me just go back to when you go back to this one here, you can see where the flexibility on here, you wouldn't get that with a fluorocarbon, but it's fluorocarbon rigs are good. I believe personally, I get a better pickup rate on the Steam Link rig, and that's a bottom bait. But that's because I've got this flexibility where you've got the stiffness going through to the flexibility. So you've got a massive amount of rotation there. And the thing is, I see all these rigs where they're putting swivels and things like that. You'll never get the rotation of a swivel like you will with this, because this is Dyneema. And, it's so flexible. So if you're looking at making like the Ronnie rig style of things, I'm not a fan of all the metal work and bits and pieces that come in, but I can't beat that bit, whereas you will not get that rotation. It's impossible to get that rotation that you will get on the Steam Link. But I think, a lot of these rigs that are out there that are like, classed as experienced angler rigs, I mean, I wouldn't go anywhere near them. There's so much stuff put out there that doesn't, like I say, it just doesn't add up. We sell, okay, it's my humble opinion, the Steam Link rigs, the fluorocarbon rigs and the braid rigs. And personally, I don't use anything other than those because I don't see there's any point. As soon as I start going off track and there's all these bits and pieces that the industry's telling you to add, they're not telling you by adding them that they could also be a negative. All our rigs are, I'm not here to say I'm an expert angler, but I am experienced because I've been doing it for so long. And I fish these rigs because they work. And I don't concentrate on rigs now like I perhaps used to do, and the mistakes I used to make, because I'm just using a rig for what it is. And then, like I say, I'm thinking about all of this kind of stuff. And, how many fish do you have to catch before you say enough's enough? And that's really where I am. So, So honestly, Joe, you know, look at the Pallatrax rigs. You'll see there's 3 varieties, or give me a call or send me a message. But, you know, don't think just because you're starting out in fishing. What I like to, well, what I believe I've done is drawn a load of products together, with the stone being a central focal point. You know, I don't want a large man-made, whether it's lead or whatever, next to my hook bait. But the rig is the trap. And I explained it to people before. If you think about a mouse trap, you know, you go into a shop selling mouse traps. There might be 3 or 4 different brands, but ultimately the mouse trap is exactly the same, the way it works. And it's a case then of putting the right bait into it and putting it in the right location. Whereas now we've got, you know, 100, 200, 500 different interpretations of the mouse trap. You know, and then you've got to still get the right bait and still put it in the right place. But, you know, there's a luck factor and all these different things in. But ultimately, why have we got so many reinventions of the wheel? Now, I would say a lot of that is down to the trade selling us more and more stuff, when I don't honestly believe you need to. So don't think, you know, you'll see some stuff, you'll see anglers who sat on the bank for a year and they're coming out with all these weird and wonderful rigs and things like that. I would suggest you don't need to. I think the sport has become really, really difficult because it's been made difficult. Catching carp isn't difficult if you do the things right. And that's not me making some huge, arrogant, ignorant statement. You know, plenty of people that come down here to Ashton's Pools, show them how to set the system up, and bang, there's, you know, catching PBs, you know, one after another. They then take the system and take it to their own waters, especially, you know, where there's more prolific, as in like lots of fish. And they're just catching fish after fish. It's because it's a system and it hasn't followed the route of the industry. You know, some people think it's, I don't know, a gimmick. I just don't do gimmick. I just want to catch more fish and I want to help other people catch more fish. John's saying the Steam Link rig meets my rig criteria, kiss and confidence. Yeah, well, you know, I do think it's the best out there. You know, it's not a braid, it's Dyneema. It's very, very much, Neil saying he's been using the Steam Link rig for many years now. I'm so confident that's working for me in most conditions. Okay, Ben, anything else? Just give me a shout. Yes, Galen's done some as well. Galen over in Canada, he's done some great underwater stuff. More stuff him and Will be doing this year, hopefully. So have a look at that and you'll see how a rig, the Steam Link rig, resets and catches. Good point, Adam. Yes, Ian. Yeah, I know. Well, is that Ian saying he's got access to clear water? I've got access to clear water. It's just about getting the company to the next level, and then it'll be really interesting because there's a lot of things that we know that are going on down on the bottom that the industry isn't telling us about. You know, like density of lead and, you know, various different things that go on in weed and things like that. And I want to produce warts and all. I don't want to fudge it. Evening, Jason. They try to brainwash into buying profit-making products. And the trouble is, Tony, I mean, you know, there is an element of that, without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt. Don't get me wrong, it's not all bad. And there's some good stuff out there, good companies doing it. But some of the things they're telling anglers to do nowadays just do not fit in. Just do not fit in. Yes, there's a competition, Andrew. It's for all the component parts of the fluorocarbon rig. All you've got to do is ping yes to Simon Pomeroy on Facebook, and you'll be in with a shout. Where are we? Keeping it simple is the best way. I do. If you got it, go to the Pallatrax channel. If you can find the most seen video on there, it's the glug underwater getting a run. There you go, from Adam. So that's Catch More Fish TV. Thanks, Adam. That's our YouTube channel, so have a look at that. Where? Have a look at keeping it simple is the best way. Like I say, Anthony, you're totally right. But what you want to do is keep it simple, but also keep it proven. You know, how can a rig work the same if it's made out of different hook link material, for example? A different size hook, a different size bait, different shape bait, you know, different length in particular. So when you look at all these things going on, let's just go back to this fella again. This is probably one of my favourite because you just know that's sat there, and it's, you know, it's just sat in a pile of food basically in goodness. And that's why I like the method approach as well, because it's the same thing. Where are we? Yeah, Owen's coming out saying about the fluorocarbon rig because of the clear water conditions we tend to get in the winter. Does anyone have a recommendation for a brolly system? I'm in the market for one. Or, I mean, I've got a solar one, but it, you know, I'm 6'1". That's not just round before you get in there, Charlie. But I think, you know, there's loads of different ones out there. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anyone wanting to see the LQ rig? Oh, thanks, Galen. Where's it? There is a film I put together of underwater takes. All were cool on the first opportunity except one, where you can see the LQ rig reset itself for another try, which then ended in a run. Yeah, that was great stuff. That was great stuff. So have a look at that link there, folks, if you're interested, and you'll see Galen fishing out in the wilds of Canada, catching all these fish on the Steam Link. And the one time it does get done, another fish comes in behind it, picks it up and gets nailed. Yeah, if you look at Vince, Vince is the amount of fish Vince catches off his island. You know, fish after fish on basically this rig. You know, we don't you know, it's. I don't know, look up the NGT body system, so thanks for that. Coarse one. Do you think it makes a difference where the shot goes, as in where the split shot faces the point? Have I got one here? Let me just dig this out and then we can show you what I've... So I always want about 1 centimetre of the exposed. So I put the shot on right on the end of the stripped, right on the end of the covered piece where it meets the strip piece. So I'm still going to get this massive rotation. Like I say, you won't get that with a swivel. And you know, the opportunities now are coming out really to explain what we've been doing. Why would you use a swivel when you'll never get that on a swivel? I can promise you, you just won't. Well, you've tried all this kind of stuff. Because this is Dyneema, not braid. That's not braid, that's Dyneema. It's actually a totally different material. So that's how it is. That's how my fish, when I'm fishing it, popped up. So just some of the non-toxic shot, squeeze it on, job's a good one. So that's, like I say, I'm fishing Lewis consistently. So, you know, it do that. It's presenting as I want it to present. And I'm not using all the jingly jangly bits. I can't believe, to be fair, that the Ronnie rig kind of seems to have overtaken the market. And then if you go on to underfishing and you see time and time again the Ronnie rig just getting spat out. But I suppose if 1,000 people are on the Ronnie rig, you're more likely to be catching on the Ronnie rig. But that, if that makes sense. Where are we? Joe, do you think, Paul, good question. Sorry, no, you could, I'll come back. I'm just, do you think there's any advantage to the hook weight? Hand on heart, no. Because again, you know, but I know there's somebody on here now who swears by it. But I think there's too many variables going on where, again, we're moving away from the main functionality of the hair rig and what it was and how it was developed, and trying to add all these bits and pieces, but not necessarily thinking of the impact of adding these bits and pieces. You know, the hair rig isn't difficult. There's so many things that have to happen before the hair rig comes into play. Like, say, putting it in the right place, presentation, being unobtrusive, right bait selection, all these kind of things. And then the next stage of the link of the chain becomes the rig. You know, Galen is a prime example. Vince is a prime example. These guys have embrace the steam link rig, like John and, like me, I suppose, Matt, the list goes on. And we're using it because it just works. It's irrelevant who developed it, what the brand is. It's about the product doing what it needs to do. But like I say, there's people on here that will, they'll watch this stuff come out on whether it's YouTube or a magazine, and they will follow it and what will happen. And I'm not here to, put them off. I mean, do whatever you want to do, but all I would suggest is just be careful, because you're moving further and further and further away from the initial development of the hair rig. Now, I'm not saying we couldn't improve on the initial hair, but for me, with all the years and all the other factors I take in, with the steam link rig, it doesn't tangle. It gives me the opportunity to fish bottom bait or pop up, and the overall thing is it's caught me personally, and I don't like you. I'm not going to give you numbers because I don't want to appear big-headed, because I just go fishing for me, but I've caught an awful lot of fish, and that includes barbel and tench and breams and other things. But I caught a ridiculous amount of carp on it, and I know other people have done it. It will always come across as contrived, I suppose, and I can understand that. I mean, I'm cynical Simon at best. But the other flip side is what if I'm not being contrived? What if I was parachuted into this industry and given an opportunity to say, well, let's take advantage of that. Let's do the best we can possibly do without falling into the trap of copying everybody else, which is really what, major brands basically doing exactly the same thing, and I'm not got a different hook design to be, bloody minded. I don't make baits the way I do or the shape I do to just rock the boat. I'm doing it seeking those edges and advantage. So there you go, Paul. Long way about what I'm talking about there. Darren's saying, just think how many companies made of the weekend at the carp show brands hatched. How many of them were approaching non-toxic lead? Well, this is the thing. You go to shows now in Europe, and because lead is being phased out and rightly vilified, the lead companies are kind of disappearing. Countries like Holland, where we sell a lot of stones and things. They've got so many different lead-free manufacturers there because Holland is basically phasing it out. I don't understand England. James put some stuff up on the team page the other day where it literally says, lead will harm aquatic life. Why are we doing it? We're meant to be all about fish safety. I just don't get it. Well, I do. I think I do. And unfortunately, the reasons aren't right. It's all about ease of manufacture, profitability, it's bad habits. I know fisheries that literally insist that you dump lead for fish safety. There's zero evidence for fish safety, but even if it was, should you really be dumping something that is then going to harm the aquatic life? I mean, don't know. What's Charlie saying here? Damn it. My guess is 1, maybe 2. What's your view on shot? Oh, there's a few people saying that. Half tempted to try hair rigs for trout when the season starts. Well, they will work. They will work, but obviously in a different format. It wouldn't be my go-to, because when I go trout fishing, I like using a fly, to be quite honest. There's nothing wrong with the El Crew rig, and it's caught me plenty. Fish over the UK. Yeah, well, like I say, Neil, I mean, we've met each other several times, and you've seen the proof in the pudding, haven't you? And but I can understand people being cynical. They can watch this now, whether it's a team member, whether it's not, saying, "Oh, he's just trying to flog me something." But like I say, you have to also think, I'm not. I've developed this stuff to improve my angling, and if people want to buy into it, I believe it's exactly the same thing. Look at the amount of fish we catch down here, and you've been down to Ashton's Pools on basically the fully loaded stone system, and these are pressured fish, obviously, but that system works, and I cannot beat it. To see one angler came down here in 22 hours of fishing to have 25 fish out of a stock of 45 in 22 hours fishing. On the steam link rig, on the system, using things like the sick and the other stuff that I do as advantage. But it's just, the way to interpret it is, this is a system. What other people are doing, they're doing. This is a fishing bait, a fishing tactical approach, a system, like you will if you go feeder fishing, like you will if you go float fishing, like you will if you go fly fishing, like you will if you go lure fishing. So when we're fishing on the deck for carp and using the hairies and things, I can't beat it. And that's just a personal thing. People try all the time to be beating things, but I think trouble is while you're doing that is you're moving away potentially from the successful to the confused, the complicated, and the assumptions that are made. Thank you, Joe. I think Stones is you know, a fantastic, you know, changed my whole fishing. Stones changed my whole fishing. Do you think that the shape of the squab help fish ejecting rather than just exactly, Lewis? If you look at everything I've done when I first started making bait on Shillam tables donkeys years ago, it kind of hit me one day that, you know, I'm sitting there making all these round shapes, and it was just that the tables make them and it's easier. And then the automatic machinery I've got now, again, it's exactly the same. They make it because round is an easy shape. Now, if we all sat round a table and we were designing the first ever boilie, and we looked at everything and took away you know, the fact it's cheap and easier to make round balls than any other shape, you would not fish with a round shape. Because you'd be going, especially if you look at the underwater footage, why would you want a shape, i.e. round, which is the shape that travels the fastest through water, has no size to it to hold up in the fish's mouth, fish learn by association, there's all these factors. I fish that shape, not because these take much longer to make than a round shape, but I'm fishing that shape because of the anti-jet properties, because of the association with round shapes. The fact is it doesn't, you know, fall down, you know, like on banks or, you know, drop-offs and things like that. It doesn't go off down the river if I'm fishing on a river. There's a design behind the shape of that. When you turn around and people go, oh, you know, it's got to be round to be a boilie. No, it hasn't. The only reason it's round, and I know I've been making bait for about part of 30 years, is because of the machinery, because it's easier to make a round shape than anything else. That is not a reason for me to go and fish on a round shape. And when you actually sit there and you kind of look over the wall of what the industry's telling you, and you go, well, actually, none of it stacks up. You know, what, you know, and then people say, I had literally people in the industry say to me, well, they're round because of throwing sticks. Now, I don't disagree. A round shape will come out of a throwing stick better than anything. But nobody invented the throwing stick and then said, well, what we now need is a shape that will come out of it. It's just a side benefit. But the thing is, do I want to compromise all of the benefits of a non-round shape just because I might put some out in a throwing stick? I mean, personally, I don't use throwing sticks. So, you know, I use a spom or whatever, but each their own. But yeah, and that's why all I've done is revisited the industry and said, and if you were in my position, I'm sure, and you were inquisitive and you know, why do we only have to have two hook designs, i.e. barbed and barbless? Why can't we have a third one? Why can't we improve on what we've got? You know, and that's where we are. It's frustrating because I've been doing this a long time, but I can understand that you've got this huge power and influence by the industry. But in all honesty, you folks on Team Pallatrax have been a massive help, and the brand's growing. I mean, there's a core behind it helping all the time. There's more people getting involved because I've got no hidden agenda. You can ask me any question. You can phone me up. You can put me under the spotlight and say, Pom, Matt, what are the drivel you're talking about? You know, like with sculpts, for example. I fish on the shape because there's a design behind it. I don't fish on a shape because the industry's telling me to fish on it, when the industry's only using that shape because it's easier to make. That's not how I fish. You know, and when you take all of these things together and add them all up, you're really lowering the percentages. And I'm all about trying to increase the percentages. Hopefully that makes. Whether side hooking baits should not be neglected. No, Michael. Is tungsten paste is that tungsten putty, Chris? No, currently it's classed as non-toxic, but there is some stuff being done in America around tungsten, which I'm keeping an eye on. There is some research being done, but as it stands at the moment, it's classed as non-toxic. But like I say, I when I'm using weights, you know, I tend to just use weights, the non-toxic shock. It's like the lead clip we put on the team page the other day, where it dumped the lead, and the chap thought it was a really good idea. Well, yeah, Darren, it does. You can probably feel my pain, not because I've had a load of work on my teeth, but I can't understand that as an industry. We say that we've got to protect the fish, we've got to protect the environment, and then there's all these people saying you to dump lead, and there's so much evidence, and they're in denial. So, you know, I could go on forever, but Neil saying, oh dear me, what did I press there? Sorry folks, I'm squab ejected, very slim chance. Yeah, well, Ian, you know, we've met each other, and you know how it is. You know, before we all fished on round shapes. You will catch on a round shape, I don't dispute that, but can you improve on the round shape? And that's the question. You don't see cubes of luncheon meat, you don't see pellets in round shape. The machines make them round because it's the quickest and easiest shape to make, and it's that simple. And I'm not going to fish on something just because the machine's made it that shape. I want to find something that works in combination with all the other advantages I'm trying to bring to the party. Sorry here, John. Talking about different styles of fishing. Is there any releasing of smaller grips? I mean, in what size, John? I mean, we've got the match hooks, which are the spade end ones, which go down to 22s. We go the standard wide gauge grips goes down to 16. So, oh, there's Ian saying that as well. Exactly, Paul's saying not many things are round in water. They don't, you know. Thanks, you're all talking amongst yourselves. That's brilliant. Lewis, I replied, sorry dude, a phone call in, sorry about that. I totally agree. The round shape, I always, where's that one gone? Always use misshapes and Trent baits, cheaper than rounds. Yeah, but I think at the end of the day, Mark, if you watch over the years, I can remember Frank Warwick years ago, he was sponsored by a company, and he would search out, you won't find any misshapes in Pallatrax because we go through it all, but he used to fish, he used to search out the misshapes, how many people used to cut baits down and things like that. Like I say, round does not, just because everybody's using round doesn't mean we should all use round, if that makes sense. Gary, I've got yours on. I just not got around to it, Gary. I do apologise, but I've seen a post page about soaking the stones. My question is, do you get? We've never known that. We've never seen it. I don't say they won't nudge it. It's a bit like anything, I suppose. It's like when we have we fish the method. They'll come barreling in, but you've got to also realise, if you look at the biology of fish and how they kind of suss things out. It is a stone. It's just part of their natural background. You know, they do pick up small stones without a shadow of a doubt. But the whole point of it is it's a bit like what we've got here with, let me just go back to this. It's a bit like what we've got here. It's drawing in the attraction. It's adding attraction. So that's all it's doing when you're soaking stones in a water-based flavour. But I've never ever had what I thought was a false pickup from a fish actually picking up and running off with a stone. So that's all I can say. That's all I can say. But it's a good point. You know, it's a good question. What else we got here? Jason saying, my local reservoir messaged me to let me know lead is banned from this season. So, oh, cool. Please, Jason, please send me that information. That would be really interesting. Please pop that to me on Facebook. That would be fantastic. Rig board markings. What was the rig board markings? Sorry, Gerard. You know, if you ever watch these live feeds, I go all over the place. Thought the smallest was 18, but you said down. I'll have to check on John. I can't remember. Square pellets. Well, again, you know, you would fish square pellets if you had the option. I mean, again, if you look at how a pellet is manufactured, you know, you are forced to fish with what is manufactured. Aaron's saying I'm a fan of either dumbbells, or chopping baits, new to Pallatrax, I must say I like. Yeah, all I can say, Aaron, is there's no con. You know, all I'm doing is kind of disrupting the market, you know, because I'm sitting here and going, well, it doesn't make sense. And because I'm in that position within the trade and having had tackle shops and one thing and another, you know, I just question things. Why have we got to do what we're being told to do? Especially when it's proven by underfishing and all of these Galen stuff and all of this other thing coming out, when it's not working. You know, I've literally, and again, this said with no arrogance, I've had people come down here, they'll fish for 24 hours and catch nothing. Even though, and I'm not being any way disrespectful, even though when anybody comes down to Ashlands Pools, I will say, look, if I can help, I'll do everything I can help. You know, I fish a particular way, and I can understand people saying, no, we're all right, we do it our way and things like that. But then 24 hours, no fish. Go down and they say, well, you know, what would you suggest? And obviously I showed them the steam rig, how to make it, how I fished a fully loaded sewn system. And every time I've done that, they've then gone on to catch, but not just one or two fish, multiples, because it works. It's a system. You're using really high quality baits. You're thinking about the shape of your hook bait. You're thinking about the ingredients. You're thinking about all the, you know, that's what it happens. And when you embrace the system, I mean, why would you fish anything else? Yes, it does mean that you have to, I suppose, buy into Pallatrax and buy into me. But honestly, if you go through it, I mean, why wouldn't you, for example, want to fish with pure maggot powder? There's no synthetics and things like that. Why wouldn't you want? You know, the thing is, the trouble is most liquids, they stay with a bait very quickly. So why wouldn't you want to have a glug that is like really super thick? Let's just show you, if you haven't seen this glug before. Let me just try and, where can I put it? I'm running out of room. So I'm just gonna, hopefully I'm gonna get this. I actually saw abroad the other day somebody doing something similar. Now I'm getting that all over the place. So the purpose of that is trying to show you that that ain't going anywhere quickly. That's going to stay, and all the attraction in there is going to ooze out. I know people that put their stones in it, and then again they do the same thing, whether it be maggots or maggot powder or whatever. Because I say, it's just about thinking outside of the box. It really, really is thinking outside the box. Do you want your attractant to stay with you, or do you want it to go out and wash out really quickly? Well, we've got the option. And that, well, I mean, that's caught me a lot of fish. John's saying, so let me just get, make sure I get there. Sorry folks, my just wondering, will you do much lake maintenance in the winter on your lake's pond? Will you need to add lime to break down bottom silts, improve water quality and increase? Great question, Owen. I love talking about fishery management. I mean, in all honesty, again, I'm doing it very much different from the industry. That's why, you know, you have to fish my baits here. I need to know what's going in there. You know, not you know, I've got a moral obligation to look after the water quality of the fish, and also the invertebrate life and everything else that lives off it. And that's why I do what I do. I don't need to line these lakes. That's certainly not a consideration at this moment in time, but there is always, and to be quite honest, I was just talking to a friend today, we just can't, me and Matt can't get out there to do any real work. You know, we're trying to put an owl box up at the moment, but everything is just, you know, we're very lucky, you know, on how the fishery's been set up. But yeah, all the things I wanted to do in January have yet to happen, and we're now into February and we still can't, and there's more rain coming. So there is always stuff like cutting. You know, when you have a fishery, you really, you know, we all as anglers probably all dream to some extent of owning a fishery, but it is actually hard work. It is difficult. And like I say, I don't want lead being dropped in here. I know grips are a safer hook for my fish and lack of mouth damage. And so that's one of the reasons, you know, some people don't come here. They want to fish with lead. But if you had a fishery and you were responsible, as I believe I am, why would you introduce something that has been proven to harm aquatic life? So, you know, I don't have the problems of having to try and go and get leads out of trees and bushes and things like that, because we don't fish on them. So the main maintenance in the winter is literally stripping back some of the stuff that's died back, because then it'll bloom even better and things like that. But though I made a couple of mistakes when I designed the fishery, I'll be the first to admit it. The vast majority of things I learned from owning my historic ownership of fisheries and consultancy. So yeah, it's quite an easy fishery to maintain. That's, you know, I designed it to be that way because we actually literally dug it. So, but I'm very lucky with all the water that flushes through because I've got a gravity system. So when I've got all this rain at the moment, it's just pushing, you know, clean water, spring-fed clean water in and out. And so, and I've got the diffusers, so they're like big air bricks that pump out pressured air and millions of little bubbles, which again is good for water quality. So, but yeah, there's always a lot to do, but I think we'll be doing a lot more this spring because we just haven't had the chance to get out there. Watched a video the other day, well-known angler to scissors his boilies. I thought immediately you should take a score. It's the last part. Don't waste that glug. Yeah, I didn't think about it, Adam. I'll try and dig it out for you. Do you still get time to fish? Yeah, good question. No, not at the moment. Yeah, to be fair, and without wanting to bore you with the business side of Pallatrax, there's really exciting stuff. And like I said earlier, you know, it's very much down to the team and especially some of the people within the team. I won't embarrass them by naming them, but I think they the ones that are here know that. And also things like, you know, I fish the stones because it's, in my humble opinion, a damn good idea because I want to be as unobtrusive as possible. More people are getting onto that. You know, you've got company. How many people go, this is stupid. You know, I'm dropping, you know, 30 or 40 leads on a session kind of thing. And when you don't need to, that's just made up, you know, by certain brands. They just made that story up and they'll come out and they'll go, oh, it's the fish safety. And you'll go, well, what's the fish safety element? And they'll go, what do you mean? Yeah, but what's the proof? You're saying fish safety, and they can't answer you because there is nothing. It's just something that's been put out there. People believe it. People do it. If you don't do it, you're then kind of ostracised. You're a pariah. Oh, you're not dropping leads because therefore you can't care about fish safety. I mean, it's just been made up. So a lot of people are starting to look around. We're getting better at our filming and our explanation, which we've got great plans for. I think even though we've been knocking around, I said this historically, we're like this old pop group. We've been rock group. I would say pop rock group. When we've been going around in an old bang-up transit, you know, playing in gungy little clubs and things like that. And then somebody on radio is starting to pick up on our tunes, and we're starting to get some playtime. And people are then saying, well, you know, and there's plenty of people who are joining the team now. They've never heard of Pallatrax. They've never heard of Ashens with Sea Pools. And in all honesty, I'm like one of the old timers in the industry now. But people are now looking, realising, and to be fair, once you start getting involved with Pallatrax, I haven't got a hidden agenda. You know, like I say, you can pick up the phone to me any time of the day and say, well, look, you know, I think what you're talking is a load of twaddle. I'll say, well, let's have a proper conversation about it. I can only tell you why I develop products and why I fish the way I fish. But do I still get time to fish? In all honesty, I could have done a bit of fishing in the last couple of weeks, but I don't want to sound, I'm sure most people, if you were fortunate enough to be in my position, you'd be out there on the banks every day of the week. But because we're so busy and because we're trying to get ready for the new season and the weather's been so atrocious, I just can't bring myself to do it. I just think I'm old. I'm getting to be a fair weather angler. But everything's out there, you know, for me to go. Everything's set up, so it has to happen soon. It has to happen. But then I look at my to-do list and think, how am I going to do that? But fingers crossed, Joe, you'll see me. You know, we've got a plan to do. Me and Matt have got this plan down here to do a proper YouTube channel. We've got to get my mouth sorted first. But to really go in deeply into fishery management, why I'm doing on what, how we fish, this is the way, and really do like a proper YouTube channel. And I honestly think it's just about awareness. You know, you might not agree, especially initially, you'll go, well, why aren't you fishing a 7-inch hook link? But the irony is you've now got Corda coming out saying you want to be fishing 4-inch hook links. I've been saying that for 27, 28 years. So lots of things are coming round full circle. The thing that's really taking us places and stopping me from doing what I love so much, and it's good for my mental health and 100 other things, is grips. Grips are just taking us all around the world. And again, you know, you can scrutinise me over grips. I've gone to Japan. I just said I just want to produce the best. This is the idea. This is the concept. And I want the best wire. I want a cutting point. You know, people won't have a cutting point in their manufacturing because it's so durable. You know, you'll catch fish after fish. Vince on here, I can remember him one time telling Pom, I just retired one of my hooks. I'd had 27 fish on it. And there's still nothing wrong with it, but I think I'll just, you know, I'll just move on. And that's what I think. I think a hook should last for multiple captures. And therefore it's far better value for money. I don't think you should be bunging a hook away or a rig away after one fish. I don't think it's right. So anyhow, I mixed some Daphne, what's Neil saying? I mixed some Daphne and maggot crush in the glug once. I've heated it for a few seconds in the microwave. Great edge fishing and wrapped my soak stones in it. Exactly, you know the truth, and the good thing is, Neil, as you know, and people who are particularly close to Pallatrax know, you know, my kind of mind only goes to certain places. People will look at the products and go, well, I'm going to do that with this. You know, I'm going to change things. I'm going to, and I think okay, we're a loyal brand, but we're new to most people, and I think a lot of people say to me once they start getting their head round, because you're trying to get your head around something when everybody else is telling you something different, and they're brand leaders and they're influencers. But I would question, you know, they will probably say I'm wrong, and I would definitely say in many ways they're wrong. But you know, they go fishing with what is basically a new portfolio of products and a new approach, a new fishing system or whatever, and they're excited. And it works. So, I know that sounds like a complete shout out for Pallatrax, but that was the design. I wanted to improve on what we had. Now, I would suggest in the last 30 years, you might disagree in some ways, but anything under the water hasn't improved our catch rates. If anything, it's taken it the other way. We might have better bivvies and better bed chairs and better pods and alarms and things like that, but it's a bit underwater that counts. The line, literally from the end eye of your rod all the way down to the boilie stop, and everything has its time and place. So yeah, I mean, like I say, there's no gimmick. Right, I'm going to have to Mamas and Pallatrax. What we doing? Oh, tell me about it, Rob. One day. You're now taking the mickey out of me. I've had really bad operation. I can't believe you're taking a bit. No, I shouldn't say that, should I? Nothing but fishing videos. What sent me on a YouTube session, learning more about the way. Definitely the way to get the word out there about the fantastic products. Thanks, Matthew. Right, folks, we're now gone way over my time. Keith's going to tell me off because it'll be on catch more fish. It will be too difficult. Oh, somebody just quickly. There's a few, let me just put that back up there. These lines here, these are for the standard steam link, the top one. And this is if you want to have a much longer piece of shrink onto, to making up what we call the LQ rig, or you know, where we're using a bigger amount of string. I tend to just stick with that. I don't really use that anymore, to be quite honest. I'm just sticking with that. It gives me this rig, and like I say, it's bomb proof. And yes, people say, oh, you're better off adding a little bait drill or a circle or a D rig or, you know, whatever. I would suggest that I know every time I go fishing that that's going to work, and I know why it's going to work. Mainly, because of that. And there's nothing else on the market where they'll give you that amount of rotation because it's Dyneema. And people look at it and they go, ah, it's just braid. No, Dyneema is like, it's like chalk and cheese. It's a totally different product. It is actually the name of the product, Dyneema. So you will get that flexibility. But yeah, these are easy to use once you get your head around it. But any questions, just do give me a shout out. Right, okay. Hopefully that's explained it. Sorry if it hasn't, but like I said, you can always give me a shout. Right, so the main Team Pallatrax Facebook competition, Tony Greenwood, come on down. So Tony, you've won the main prize, the big prize, so congratulations, sir. I'm sure I saw your name here earlier, if you're still here. Congratulations, and if not, I will find you and get that prize off to you. So well done, Tony. And then who's going to win Pom's Blessed Rig and all the other bits and pieces? Andrew, I hope I'm saying this right, Hewkin. Andrew Hewkin, you have won the fluorocarbon and all the bits and pieces and my rig that I've tied and that will now be blessed for you. So there you go, you've won that thing of beauty. So Andrew, if you're not here and you haven't seen that or you've gone, you have won. So just send me a message and we'll get that off to you. Last but not least, I'll put it here and read off it. We've got the Y fishing. Big thanks and shout out to Rich Shaw for helping put that together. It's on the arms and stretch of the Y. It's basically barbel, but there's loads of other fishing as well. £70 per person. It's on Saturday the 1st and Sunday the 2nd of August. That includes a barbecue on the Friday, so we get there on the Friday. It's a really, really, really good team fishing. It's always full, so there's a few places left. So if you want to go barbel fishing, and we've got the whole stretch to ourselves, do ring the office. So there we go. Right, folks. Well, thanks for putting up with my speech impediment. Thanks for all the sympathy that I've been shown by certain people. I won't forget it. I will be back here next week, hopefully with Ian Brookman. I'm not sure if Ian knows it, but he will be my guest next week. If you've got any questions at all, like I say, just pick up the phone. Just like you, I'm just another angler. Just because I own a bait and tackle company doesn't mean I'm anything special. And if I can genuinely help you, that's all I want to do. And if you buy into Pallatrax, great. We can grow the company and we can do more and more things. It's not like I've not developed a bivvy, and things like that. There's all this stuff sitting on the back burner, and I should have drawn. That's my wife who's putting up Sylvester Silbuck. Any road, I'm out of here. You stay safe. Have a great week. Fingers crossed that, well, we've got daffodils and crocuses and things coming out down here. So spring is on its way, and but I've got more surgery on my mouth. So yeah, hopefully it'll be all right. Anyway, folks, thanks for supporting as always. Thanks for being here and keeping me company. And we'll catch up with you very, very soon. But like I say, you've got any questions about tonight or anything else, just reach out to me. So stay safe, folks. Look after yourselves.